I'm Karen Hartglass, and you are listening to It's All About Food. Thank you for joining me today for one more episode about food. I never believed that I could go on for about 18 years talking about food every week, but here we are. And there's always something new. It's either good or not so good, but food is related to everything. And recently, I had the opportunity to go to an event sponsored by Plant Powered Metro New York. I know you know about Plant Powered Metro New York. We've spoken with the founder, Leanna Reisner, a number of times. It was a great party, and I met wonderful people, and you're going to be meeting a lot of them because I've invited them to speak on my podcast. And the first one happens to be Kirk Charles of Fit Beyond 40. Welcome, Kirk.
Hello, how are you?
I'm a bit I'm feeling a bit what's the word? Just doing too many things at the same time. So I want to use this hour not just to get to know you, but just to breathe and bring it down a notch. Okay, so I met you at Plant Powered Metro New York. You were one of the latecomers. This isn't a judgment call, but you made an entrance.
I came in at exactly the right time.
Exactly. And we had a nice conversation, but I really knew very little about you. And I'm on your website, kirkcharles.com. I'm reading about you and Fit Beyond 40, and you're just amazing.
Well, thank you.
That's
I'm a
all.
work in progress.
Work in progress. Okay. So to get started, we were at Plant Powered Metro New York. It was a lovely event at someone's home. We were kind of being thanked or celebrating the organization and the fact that we were all advisors to the organization over the years. And I want to say that there are a number of people who are advisors and on the board who have done a lot more than I have. I was just lucky to be invited to a nice party.
As was I. No doubt about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So the first thing I asked you, or one of the first things was, not just what are you doing here, but I assumed you were eating a plant diet and how you got started on that path. And what you told me was fascinating because of its simplicity. And I want you to share that.
Certainly. Well, I got started 30 some years ago, and I was around 25 years of age. And prior to, let's say, went back up to when I was 23 or so, I was reading books and just gaining knowledge on plant-based eating, and none of it was really intentional. And one of the books that I read at first was Back to Eden. And I also read a book called African Holistic Health. I read all types of books back then. And I had no intention of being vegan. As a matter of fact, this was like 1986, 87. I don't think I knew what the word vegan meant back then.
Sure. Hmm.
Now we have vegan, vegetarian, pesco vegetarian, lacto. We have all these designations, and none of them really mean anything to me any longer. I just simply eat a whole lot of vegetables as much as I possibly can. But back at that time, I was reading, and in one year, I stopped eating red meat just to see how I would feel. Of course, my family thought I was crazy. And over the course of that year, I felt great. I said, this is cool, pretty cool. Let me give up chicken the next year. So I gave up chicken the next year. And then I felt great again. And then I gave up fish the next year.
Hmm.
And then after that, I gave up dairy. And I remember the last piece of animal flesh that I ate was a fried fish sandwich from Pete's Fish Market on 2nd Street in Roselle. It was great. Tartar sauce dripping down my arm, and hot sauce. I was looking at all of them like, this is it. It was December 31st, 1988, as I remember. And
Wow.
yeah, so it was the last time I intentionally ate any type of meat product. And looking back over these last 37 years or so, it was definitely the best move I'd ever made in my life. And I didn't even know it. It was like serendipity. I sort of fell into it. And, you progress and move forward. And when you first jump into veganism, like a lot of people eat all the vegan junk food there could possibly be. I went to every festival, everything, tried all of it. And then you go through a transition, I guess. And I think I went through a transition back in 2015 or so. And I started eating more just fresh food. So now I believe in the concept of whole food, plant based. And I like to make my own food. And during the time, during those 37 years, you progress and progress, you learn more, but then you find out you may need something extra. And
Right?
for me, hypertension is a problem. And
Oh,
it's something that I fight against all the time. And the only way to win the battle against it and to not succumb to taking pharmaceuticals is by eating a lot of raw food. So at this point, now I'm eating about 75, 80% raw food. And when I say that, I mean uncooked, unprocessed, a lot of salads, a lot of fruits, a lot of raw nuts. And then I try to supplement that with the other 25% being cooked food. I do believe that we do need some cooked food like potatoes. I eat oatmeal before I go out on long bike rides. I do a lot of cycling. So there are different, I'm a work in progress, as I say. I write down everything I eat. I write down what time I eat it. I take my blood pressure several
wow.
times a day. I take my weight every day just so I know what food is affecting me, what food is kicking up the blood pressure. And I was just meeting with a client this morning. And I was telling her if we could solve the blood pressure or hypertension problem and solve the weight problem in this country, we'd probably knock out 90% of all metabolic diseases. Just knock them out.
Of
That's,
course.
that's
And
just my belief. Yeah.
what would be wonderful is that then we could concentrate on all those other medical issues
Yes.
and solve those, the mysteries or yeah,
We could
I
actually make
agree with
some
you.
really serious
We
progress.
could
You know,
if we weren't focused on heart disease and diabetes and many cancers that are related to our diet and lifestyle.
precisely, precisely. So that's my belief. So I live by what I call the 7-Eleven philosophy, um, which is when you eat plants, anything is possible. And the more plants you eat, the better off you'll be. That's just it. So I don't really think of myself as vegan any longer. I just eat as many plants as possible. And I never said that I would never eat animal food again. I just haven't done it because I believe I found a way of life.
Okay, so for you, it's been health motivated.
Health mode in the very beginning, no, it wasn't health motivated. It was more so, well, why do I need meat? I mean, I was 25 years old. I didn't see the value of it based on the reading that I was doing. And then as time progressed and my blood pressure started to pick up, then it became more health related. So it's a combination of both.
Why do you need meat? You were asking yourself because for ethical reasons or what?
It was more physical performance reasons. I've always been
Okay.
athletic and I just didn't see the need to eat meat. There was really no hard and fast rule like meat does this to you and vegetables do that to you. I just didn't feel a need to do it. So I guess maybe it was more on the ethical side. I just didn't see
Yeah.
I didn't see the advantage of it. And then when I stopped eating meat, I really didn't see the advantage of it. I saw the advantage of eating more vegetation. So I just didn't go back. And
Right.
at this age, like about 63 now, and I look back and I look at a lot of my friends that I grew up with, and a lot of them are having metabolic problems and surgeries and just all types of things that I just think are unnecessary. So, I truly believe I made the best move, but I'm still learning as I go along. I'm still learning because living in this country, we have a certain concept about food and we have a certain access to certain types of food. I was just in Europe about 2 months ago. I was in Spain and in Copenhagen, and I'm looking at everybody, and they're all thin and trim and moving around and
Yeah.
riding bikes to work in the morning. And I'm like, this is not America.
Right. This is
This is
not
not
America.
what we
We are
do.
not the greatest country on earth, certainly not when it comes to food.
Definitely not when it comes to food, no doubt about it. And when I was in Italy, like maybe 3 years ago, same thing. Everyone's riding bikes to work. They're obeying traffic signals like cars. I almost got run over by a bike one time because I wasn't paying attention. So I'm like, this is great. I mean, they understand something that we just don't understand. And here, I think it's so profit driven, and we just have to commoditize food to make as much money as possible that we're doing a serious detriment to ourselves. But there's an alternative. And my job, a part of my job, is to give my clients and people who follow me an alternative. Say, look, this is what I've done, this is what I've achieved. Maybe you want to emulate it, maybe you don't, but here it is. You have an option.
Yeah, what I'm thinking of after hearing you talk and living my decades this way, we have a lot of similarities. I started as a vegetarian when I was about 15. I didn't want to eat meat and I gave up meat. Then I gave up uh, fish sometime later. And then in 1988, I gave up dairy and eggs. And I like calling myself a vegan. That's my personal thing. And for me, it was about animals. But then, of course, I learned about health and the environment and just makes no sense to live any other way. Uh, but now we're getting older. And as my dad used to say, no one gets out of this world alive. We're all going to die. But I think we would like to live a healthy quality life as long as we can. And I see different people falling apart in different ways
Mm,
or having challenges that are unique. And you mentioned your hypertension. We can dig into that a little more. My personal thing is high cholesterol, and I'm doing all these different things to see if I can play the game and do better and drop those numbers. And it's not easy, but I do like data. It's just I can't go and get a blood test all the time, and I don't want to invest in one of those expensive meters.
mm.
So there's that. Okay, so let's talk about hypertension because what first comes to my mind is where are you with salt?
Salt. Good question. I'm not a big believer that salt is actually the key, not table salt anyway. I do believe you can have a little bit of that, and for a couple of reasons. I think the sodium compounds in all the food that we eat, I think that's the real problem. And I forget what the recommendation for sodium per day is, but maybe 2,500 milligrams, something like that.
Yeah,
Whatever it is, if you just drink like a can of Coke, you're going to go over
of
it. Probably
course.
go way
Yeah,
over it. So as far as salt is concerned, my goal is to not eat anything processed. And therefore, I
right.
really have to worry about those additives being put in the food. There must be, what, 100 sodium additives in food? So, for instance, when I get up in the morning and if I do a long bike ride, let's say I'm doing 60, 70, 100 miles, you need some electrolytes in your body. I believe you do
Sure.
need some salt in your body. So in that case, salt isn't really that bad. But then when you start eating hot dogs and candy and all types of stuff like that, then it becomes a problem. So where I am with salt is that my goal is to not eat anything processed. And as Michael Pollan said in his food rules, don't eat anything with a label on it. If it has a label on it, I try to stay away from it. And just had this conversation with my client this morning. We talk about all types of things, exercise and food. And I'm telling her I only have a few things in my house with a label on it, not many. So she was telling me about one of those apps where you could um, pull up the nutritional data on any type of food and it tells you if the food is good or bad. And I said, well,
Yeah,
I don't even know if you really need that. If you don't need the label, you can't, there's nothing to scan.
just read. Some people don't know how to read anymore.
Pretty much, pretty
And
much.
the labels, the print is so small.
It's so small and you don't know what those things are. And then they can put things in there that they don't. And then you have the generally regarded as safe rules, and I don't know what's not. All I know is that when you walk into the first aisle of the supermarket into the vegetation section, normally there are not any labels on that food. So if you stick with that, you'll do all right. So regarding salt, just to directly answer your question, table salt, sea salt, I don't see it as a bad thing. But when you start eating processed food and they start putting additives in it, then we have a problem. And I think that's my problem. So I stay away from as much
Oh,
processed food as possible.
okay. So you stay away from the food. So is your blood pressure okay?
My blood pressure now, it's okay. But if I veer away from what I just told you, then it becomes
Oh,
a
okay.
problem. So
Okay.
back in 2020, I forget the exact date. Actually, no, in 2023, I was like at a hypertensive crisis level.
Whoa.
And
Mm-hmm.
prior to that time, now this was January 4th, 2023, right before my birthday, before I turned 60. Prior to that time, I was taking my blood pressure every day. So I know what it is. And I know that if I exercise and I really intensely exercise, riding my bike or running, that my, but then later in the day, it'll go back up. So the exercise doesn't last as long
Mm-hmm.
as I would like it to. And I tried running 5 miles an hour a day. I tried everything possible except for raw food. When I did that on January 4th, 2023, when I transitioned, that on that day my blood pressure was like 179 over 115, something like that. And
Wow.
I said, if it ever goes over 180, I'm immediately going to the hospital. I'm just going to give up, tell them to give me all the dope they can and bring it down. So the next day came and my blood pressure was higher, right?
Oh no. Uh, Hold on. I'm not hearing you. Uh, is it me? I've lost. Okay.
Hold on, let me
Oh,
see.
now you're back.
Now I'm back. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So it was higher. And what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, the next day was higher, and I said to myself, well, I'm close enough to the hospital where I can just crawl to it. So I said, there's no rush. One more day won't kill me. I'll go tomorrow. I just didn't want to go. And the next day, I just continued to eat raw food. And over the next 4 or 5 days, it started going down. And I was like, well, wait a minute. Then in about 3 weeks, it was like in the 130s over the 80s. Now, dropped from like 181 over 110 to that level.
Sure was you
And
and not the meter's mistake.
I, I don't know. I,
Okay.
I don't know what's going on, but it just started coming down, and I stayed on a raw diet from January 4th, 2023 to my birthday on March 17th, 2023. 75 days. I was like, this is it. But I had to get to that point where, in going raw food, and this is something I had thought about for years prior.
Hmm.
Raw must probably is a better way because it's the most natural. Um, I just didn't do it until I had to do it. And when I did it, I was like, whoa, this is it. So now I'm the biggest raw food advocate now. You got to have, and again, I keep a food diary. So I tell my clients that I work with, I want you to keep a food diary. You got to know what you're putting in your body. You want to know how this food affects you. I know that if, for instance, I drink alcohol, that alcohol supposedly raises your blood pressure. If I
Hmm.
go out and I start drinking alcohol tonight and I take my blood pressure like 3 or 4 hours after I drink it, my blood pressure will be very low, but then it'll go up the next day. I,
Right.
I wouldn't know that if I wasn't keeping a diary. I know that if I were to eat something really highly processed today, it may not affect me today, but maybe tomorrow or the next day after, blood pressure go up. So you learn little things like that. I know when I exercise really intensely, when I'm riding my bike, I just did a 50-mile ride a couple of days ago. My blood pressure gets very low. It might be 105 over 65, something like that.
Yeah. Well, when you're fit, that makes sense.
So it fluctuates on a day-to-day basis, but I know now that certain food really kicks it up to a point where I just can't tolerate it any longer. So it keeps me on track.
Hmm.
And salty food, I don't consider processed food actually food because it has some food elements in it, but it also has a lot of chemicals in it. And I don't know what that is. So it's not food, it's something. And,
Yeah.
we haven't, as a society, we haven't been eating a lot of processed food for a very long time. I mean, back in the early 1900s, Kraft came up with how to process cheese and put all these additives in it, and maybe flour mills prior to that, where you could take away the where you could produce white flour.
Yeah.
So
Without the vitamins. Yeah.
yes, exactly.
And everybody got sick.
Everybody got sick.
Yeah.
So we haven't adapted to that type of food over the last couple of 100 years or whatever it may be. So I'm of the opinion that fresh food is the best food. No animals, as fresh as possible, as few cans or bottles or packaged food as you can possibly have in your home. Not much at all. If you do that, you don't have to worry about weight problems. For instance,
Yeah.
back in 2020, I don't know if you saw, I was on the cover of Men's Health. I was on the two covers
I
of milk.
was just reading your bio and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's a star. Okay.
I was on two covers, and at that time, my weight was about 194 to 197. I would fluctuate in that area. I may have looked good on the cover, but inside I was boiling because my blood pressure was high. So I wasn't
Uh,
happy. Then fast forward to 2023, when I started eating raw food, my weight started to drop. Right now, as of this morning, I'm like around 180 or
mm.
so, 181. And I wasn't even trying to lose weight when I went on the raw food, protocol. I was just trying to be healthy and get my blood pressure lowered. So by eating more unprocessed food, again, salads, fruits, raw nuts, you easily drop your weight without trying. Your blood pressure lowers. The two main concerns that we have in this country. Maybe half of the people in this country, at least half over the age of 50, are on some type of blood pressure medication or they do have high blood pressure. Two-thirds of people are overweight. I mean, we could almost immediately eliminate these problems and we wouldn't need all these drugs. And, it was like
Okay.
very upsetting. Sorry if I'm talking too much, but I guess I
It's
get
okay.
passionate about
Hearing
this.
you tell your story, I'm thinking about my story and how there's some alignment here. So,
Mm,
in my pursuit to lower cholesterol, I've been trying different supplements, and one of the first things I jumped on was doing salt, oil, sugar free, SOS free. And I already was on a pretty whole food, high raw plant diet, but my partner and I like to cook. We do go to restaurants. I love to promote and support vegan restaurants, and their food is full of salt, oil, and sugar, even though it may be plant-based. So I started the salt, oil, sugar-free thing, and it was to lower my cholesterol. But I want to say that whenever I would get my blood pressure tested at the doctor's office, it was somewhere between 130 and 140, which was high. And I would always have my doctor take it again after the nurse took it, and I would sit there and I would breathe and try and relax, and it would come down. But I was concerned about that. After doing the SOS free thing and I lost 12 to 13 pounds, I never had high blood pressure again. I just went and got an implant from at my oral surgeon. This is a long story I don't even want to talk about for my molar. And they took my blood pressure. It was 110 over 70 or something the week or few weeks before I went to my doctor. The nurse took my blood pressure. It was 101 over 60. I wasn't doing anything special. It's just naturally lower now that I've lost the weight. And I was never overweight. I never thought I was overweight. And I was feeling good. I love being a little slimmer, but I think it matters. And my understanding is with cholesterol, at least according to Dr. Joel Furman, who everyone knows is my favorite medical doctor, he says even if you're 2 or 3 pounds overweight, that could affect your cholesterol negatively and probably your blood pressure too. So there you go.
I mean, and the thing
What could I
is,
say?
it's just too easy. Once you figure out the key to it, as you figure it out, it's just too easy. It's but most people just
Take the pill.
take the pill. Take the pill. It's very disheartening, especially when people are close to you and they know you and they see what you're doing and they may see the positive results you're getting, but they still may not want to emulate it.
I was meeting a friend when I first started this SOS free diet. I met a friend who lives outside of the country, and she was meeting with her sister first. So I met her and her sister, and then we left her sister and went on our way. And I had been talking about this SOS free thing that I was doing for cholesterol. And then later on, another time, my friend told me her sister said, I would just take the pill because it seems simple to you and me, but
It,
it's not simple to other people, and they'd rather take a pill and get all the side effects and none of the benefits.
I don't understand it, and this is the battle that we have to fight. It just won't go away for some reason. And what we do or what we are advocating, we will not put the drug companies at. There's no doubt about that. They're going to remain in business. They're going to produce drugs. Hopefully, they would just produce drugs that really help in situations where it's absolutely needed, where plant-based eating will not work or
Of
it doesn't
course.
seem to help. But the easy way is normally the preferable way for the average person. Again, my job is just to give someone an alternative because there are many people who don't want to go to the doctor every other week and take medications. They just maybe are not introduced to a different way in a way that they absolutely or way that they need to hear it. So we pretty much come from the same philosophy, but you have a different way of saying it. I have a different way of saying it. Hopefully more people will listen to you and other people will listen to me. Who knows? But there's a better way of life. It's a superior way of life.
Hmm.
And I'll just keep on singing my song, and hopefully you will too. And I know you're a singer, so we can sing in harmony,
We
maybe.
can sing. Yeah, that's right. La la la.
Okay, you take the lead. I'll do background.
Life is merry if it's very vegetarian. A
There we
man who plants a garden is a very happy man. That's from the musical The Fantastics. Thank you very
go.
much.
Yeah, but
Okay,
yeah, this is great. This is great.
so you're not 100% raw. You're about 70%.
75, 80%, yeah. Hmm.
So this is interesting to me because I was just thinking about the raw food diet.
Hmm.
And I was just doing a little Googling and asking AI or whoever is giving the responses to my search questions
Hmm.
about the raw food trend.
Hmm.
And it seems to have peaked in the early 2000s. And here we are a quarter of a century later. It's not as popular as it used to be. Any comments?
Um, I don't know really what to say. Sometimes when all these stats come out, I don't know how real or unreal they are. Um, my only comment would be that you have to maybe find a way that works for you. I've found that 75, 80% works. Um, I do, as I said before, I do believe that I need some cooked food. 20% that I do eat that's cooked, a lot of it has to do with the fact that I'm, an endurance athlete, so to speak. And I like to do
Hmm.
long bike ride. For instance, I did a bike ride from New York City all the way to Lincoln Park in Chicago about 2 years ago. That's like 1,000 miles.
Wow.
And on a ride like that, on long rides, I can't just do it on raw food. I'll bonk out after like maybe 30 miles. So I eat a lot of oatmeal in the morning before I go out on my bike,
Mm.
and
Hmm.
things like that. And there are certain other calories we have access to, like soups. I know Joel Furman is big on soups, veggie soups, I believe, and like baked potatoes and sweet potatoes, things like that. So I believe some cooked food is beneficial to you, at least from the energy perspective.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it's hard to get the caloric energy you need when you're eating raw food because it has so much fiber and then it fills up your gut and then you can't eat anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So the good food helps you get more concentrated energy that digests more slowly over time, which is beneficial when you're doing some endurance feat.
Exactly.
So how many
Exactly.
miles did you bike every day on this 1,000 mile trek?
Oh, wow. It varied between 80 to 100.
Wow.
And I had to cut off some of the miles because I didn't really plan this out too well. And I can't ride on major highways. So I had a car
Right.
following me. Like, for instance, I had friends who rode with me from New York City to Philadelphia. Actually, I took the longer route. I went down from New York to Philadelphia, across to Indianapolis. Then I went north to Chicago. And
Wow.
that's about 1,000 miles instead of going in a straight line on Route 80 going west, and that's about 800. So I was by myself from Philadelphia all the way to Chicago, but I did have a car following me. And it
Mm.
was very intense. And I was working, doing this in conjunction with the Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I wanted to just do something big. And uh, it was fun getting to like Bernard and everybody else there. They're all great people, love them all. And had a good time doing it, but it was just very grueling. And I'm just sort of crazy to a degree. I just go ahead and do it. we'll figure it out on the road. And it was an experience. It taught me a lot. And cycling in general has taught me a lot. So I advocate to anyone that, part of what I believe is that you have to eat in a certain way, plant based, obviously, with at least eating 50% of those plants uncooked, unprocessed. Then you have to exercise also. You have to get a daily amount of exercise. And that daily amount can be very small, it can be large. Maybe some days you need to take off, but pretty much every day I do something. If
Hmm.
if nothing else, mobility exercises and stretching.
We have to move.
Yeah, we have
We
to
have to
move.
move.
You have biomechanical needs, and movement is the only way to solve those needs. So when you fuel your body the right way and you move a lot, then again you start to eliminate a lot of the problems that most people have. And you know, I'm looking forward to a life of movement up to 100. Once I get to 100, I might figure out a different plan. But between now and
120, 120,
120,
120.
all right, I'm shooting for get to 75. Get to
Okay.
75 in good form. So I got 12 years, and then from there, then I get to 100, and we'll see what happens.
There
But
are a
it'll
lot
be
of things that are out of our control when it
true,
comes
very true.
to life and how long we can live. And I don't want to get all morose, but we are living in an interesting environment,
Mhm,
and we do not know what's going to happen from decade to decade with global warming and floods and heat and
mhm,
pollution and soil degradation and growing food and politics and countries getting along and fighting and 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 I want to breathe now and I don't want to raise our blood pressure. Do you do any meditation?
Not enough. Um, that is a weak point, I guess, in my philosophy.
We're
I'm
all a work
using,
in progress, like you said.
yeah, I'm moving way too much and doing way too many things. And once I get off of this talk with you, I got a lot of stuff to do. So it's difficult to sit down and just take a couple of deep breaths from time to time. And I need more rest. I know that.
Ooh.
So
Mm-hmm.
rest, meditation, I need more sleep. But I guess a part of that, I love what I do. I just keep going. I keep going. And my girlfriend gets on me sometimes because I need to slow down. I'm like, yeah, I do need to slow down, but there's a lot to do. You have a lot to do also. You probably a lot of fun doing this podcast, and just doing this podcast alone might consume all of your energy, but then you're
Hmm.
probably pulling something else on top of it. So
Yep.
when you live a life of passion, it I'd rather live a life of passion than to live a life of perfection. So I just engage in what I like to do, and that meditation and that rest part is definitely something I need to work on. There's no doubt about that.
Okay. Well, I wish you well with that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. But
You
just
know, when you
staying.
say I need to,
Uh-huh.
I don't want to give you any more stress or anxiety because when you're worrying about things you need to do and you're not doing them, that could add to your hypertension.
It could, but I'm just gonna keep rolling on. I'm having fun, so as long as I'm having fun, I'm not too concerned about it. I probably should be more concerned, but we all have weaknesses. We're all human, but you know, we can live high quality, fun lives, and you know, we can't control long we life of high quality. And,
Okay, I want to talk about bike riding, especially in the city. So
mhm.
I enjoy bike riding and I haven't done so in a few years just because there's no place for me to go. I would love the idea of just leaving my apartment and going, but I am petrified of walking in this city, which I do a lot, let alone ride my bicycle. There are places I could kind of walk to get to the park and ride, but I haven't done that recently. And it's sad. We have bike lanes now. They're adding more. They just added city bikes here in my neighborhood. I don't want to get on one.
Well, riding in New York in the city is a little tough. and I've done many, many miles in the city. I love Central Park, right around the park. It's fun, nice little 6 mile track.
Mm.
But most of the riders I know who are in the city, they come on over across the GWB and they ride in Jersey because
Ah, because it's easier, nicer, more
it's easy,
suburban.
more suburban, easier, nicer, definitely.
Yep.
So the last month, I've done rides on um, the trail from New York all the way up to Canada, the Empire
Oh,
State Trail, which is
wow.
a nice ride. But when I ride from the GWB on the Jersey side up to the Tappan Zee Bridge across, and then we get on the Empire State Trail and come back down, which is a nice ride. As soon as we get off of the trail, then we got to ride through the Bronx and Upper Manhattan, and it's testy. Let's
That's
put it.
nasty.
Yeah, it can be
That's just
nasty, but
nasty.
we're very zealous cyclists and sort of crazy, and we just like to go out there and have fun. So you got to be careful. There's no doubt about it. But I advocate cycling for everyone because I like to run also. And the reason that I got into cycling is because my knee was bothering me when I was running. So I
Yeah.
just backed off, got on a bike. So the pressure on your ankles, your knees, and your hips is somewhat alleviated when you're riding a bike. But the bottom line is to get in any type of cardio exercise that you can get in. If it's just hiking or walking, that's fine also. But get something in.
Move.
Get that heart pumping. There's no
Just
doubt about
move.
it. Yep, that's it.
I'm curious about writing for Men's Health. And you're still writing for them from time to
No,
time?
I'm not writing for Men's Health any longer. No.
Okay, but when you did, were you still on this regime that you were on?
No, I started more with the raw food after I finished writing for Men's Health. And I
Okay,
wrote,
but you were eating plant-based?
oh yeah, I've been
Okay,
eating plant
what I
based
want to
since.
get to is did they allow you to say whatever you wanted, or did they want to control some of what you were saying to
The
protect
writing
their
was
advertisers?
mm, the writing was only about exercise.
Ah, of
So I
course.
didn't write anything about plant-based eating or anything like that.
Right. Okay.
So it was basically for older men because obviously I was older at the time. So maybe the concerns that older men might have doing certain types of exercise.
Now you talk about coaching, and you're a trainer,
Yes.
and you also coach people on what they should be eating as they're working out or something like that.
Yes, definitely. I've been a personal trainer, certified personal trainer since 2010. And I worked at the New York Sports Club for many years until it closed down right before the pandemic. And I also coach people as far as what they should be eating, trying to change their lifestyle in order to become better, stronger mentally and physically. So coaching and from the physical fitness perspective is a lot of fun as far as telling them what exercises to do, but I can only go but so far as far as
Right.
what I want to do with that person. And we have to like change the lifestyle around. So some people only come to me for, the physical fitness part. Some people won't listen to anything that I say about food and nutrition because they think I'm crazy. And
Yeah.
maybe I am to a degree. I mean, people in general, how many people do you meet who've been vegan for 30 plus years? Very few.
Me, very
Yeah, yeah.
few.
So you're one of maybe the two or three that I know out of the millions of people in New York City. Right?
Yeah.
So we're not as there are not as many of us as I would like for there to be. So we're talking about things that seem very radical to people, but I think as Joel Furman would say, what's radical is eating the meat diet. The
Exactly.
standard toxic American diet. That's radical. That's sort of crazy. Eating the
Well,
diet,
we live in an upside down world.
it's extremely upside down, and I don't know what to say about it. It's so profit driven that we can't see straight. And there's so much seductive advertising that, we just fall into that trap. And what's the solution? More education is the solution. I guess that's obvious. But where are we going to get that from?
Yeah, because the education today isn't real education. A lot of people are learning from I I'm doing air quotes here, influencers who don't know anything. And
True.
they have a lot of followers and they get a lot of traction and then people just vomit what they've heard and it's all nonsense. I want to know, you mentioned some people that you work with don't want to hear about diet, but what's the pushback that you get in this work for the most part?
The pushback regarding diet is that, well, I can't eat anything.
Because
I
they're
just
sensitive, they have gut problems, or
no. If I tell you that, okay, I had a conversation this morning, and I was telling a friend or the lady I was working with about some of the things I would like her to not eat that I think are just going to exacerbate the weight problem.
hmm,
And then she said to me, "Well, I can't eat anything now." So in her world, she has like a circle, a small circle of what she could eat, and she wants to be in that circle. I'm trying to get her to expand her way of thinking and go outside of it because there's much more vegetation than there are meat products, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know. I mean, a lot more. A lot more.
absolutely.
One time I was speaking to a group, and it wasn't an affluent group at all. And we were talking about plant based eating and how expensive it is. And my
Huh,
thing is that no, it's not expensive.
no.
So what I did was the next time I went to meet with that group, I went to the supermarket and I went to the fresh produce aisle and I took pictures of everything that I could that was less than $1 a pound. Then I went to the aisle where they have beans and rice and I took pictures of every type of bean that was less than $1 a pound. I had like more than 50 items easily
Right.
that you could eat from. So people are just unaware that when you walk into the supermarket and you go past that first aisle, that's where all of the pretty food with all the packaging is, all the nice packaging. And you just walk right past what you should be concentrating more on.
Hmm.
So another pushback as well is just too expensive, just costs too much money. Well, I'm like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's really inexpensive. Um, but those are the biggest pushback is that I think mentally you have to come to the conclusion that you may not be doing something that's in your best interest. And in order to grapple with that mentally, it's very tough. You may think you're eating healthy and you're doing what people say to do, and but to me, if you're eating quote unquote healthy, then you should get good results. If you're
What a concept.
yeah, it's just the obvious. If you're not getting good results, then what you're doing is not working. Now, you have to admit that. And I think a lot of us are just delusional and just maybe don't want to admit that.
I want to have a caveat here because you could move to a healthier diet, and in the first few weeks, you may struggle because your body is massively detoxing. You may experience fatigue, you may experience upset stomachs, your gut is learning to repopulate good bacteria. It really depends on where you're coming from. So in the first few weeks, you got to give it a few weeks. But if, after 2 months you're still not doing well, then it's not good for you.
And that said, I'm thinking that making the transition as easy as possible. This is another reason why I'm big on the food diary.
Mm,
Instead of just jumping in full bore. Now there was going out with a lady maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and she was a heavy meat eater, but she had a lot of digestive problems.
of
And I'm
course.
trying to get her to eat more vegetation, and she tried a lot of vegetation one day, and she was very, very sick.
Yeah.
So to your point, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So maybe if we just introduce certain types of food, more vegetation, more slowly, which is, why I'm big on the food diet because now you know exactly what you're putting into your body. To me, you always want to know what you're putting in. You got to know what it is.
What diet did you say? That's why you promote the what diet?
Well, that's why I promote eating more vegetation. Um,
But slowly,
maybe
gradually.
with some people it has to be more gradual than others. Like some people are the mentality, hey, I'm going vegan tomorrow, and they just do it.
Yeah.
But other people, they might have to just eat maybe an apple a day, and then maybe one salad a week, and then try to, increase their percentage of raw food or their percentage of vegetation from that point. So everyone's a little different.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to figure out how to work with those people who are different. So that's a big part of my job.
I review a lot of programs as a contractor to an organization that promotes and affiliates with different organizations with their programs. And many of them just infuriate me, the stuff that they want to promote. And a lot of the ones that are trying to be plant-based, and again, I've got the air quotes again, where they're encouraging that you eat more vegetables because the science is so overwhelming that we need plant foods in our diet, but they don't want to give up animal foods. They recommend digestive enzymes. And so they're kind of middle of the road somewhere, encouraging more vegetation, but they can't give up the animal. And so we have supplements. Just take the pill. Yeah.
Well,
And
it's
I don't
difficult.
think that solves anything, but it may appear they may be able to consume more vegetables. And maybe in the short term, some digestive enzymes might help people be able to ultimately eat foods without supplements. But the body wasn't designed that way.
I don't think it was. At the moment, I don't take any supplements. B12 sometimes, because supposedly that's the only thing you can't get from
Yeah.
vegetation. And so B12 would be it. But otherwise, I don't really do any supplements.
Well, that's good. And your vitamin D level is good?
My vitamin D level, from what I was told, is low,
Yeah.
but I'm just going outside and baking myself in the sun as much as possible, especially during the summer. I'm getting my
Okay.
sunlight, but I'm not too sure about these numbers that scientists and doctors come up with, because different races of people may need different amounts of sunshine and
Absolutely.
different amounts of vitamin D. And whenever a test or a study comes out, who are you testing?
Hmm.
These things are. Are you testing mostly meat eaters, or are you testing mostly vegetation eaters?
Right. Well, they rarely test vegetation eaters, as you call it.
Exactly.
Rarely.
Exactly. So, how do we know that these results are really accurate? And then why should we be taking ABC supplement, which I don't know that any of those supplements really work like they should. Joel Furman talks about calcium absorption and, not being able to absorb calcium and taking all these supplements, and how it doesn't all, numbers just don't add up because it's not bioavailable.
Hmm.
And also, as I'm sure you know, that, on a more acidic diet, we're destroying or leaching calcium and phosphorus from our bones in order to bring your pH to the right level, things of that nature. So a lot of these supplements to me are unnecessary.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to pump more stuff in, maybe we should preserve what we do have in the body already by eating us in a certain way. And as you mentioned earlier, getting a lot of fiber, to feed that gut bacteria. I mean, that's a major thing. Very, very major.
I uh I take some supplements. I take Dr. Furman's multivitamin and it has B12. I also throw in an extra B12 from time to time just to be sure and there's vitamin D in there. Um I do like to take an a DHA EPA supplement. I've had my levels tested and they were indeed low. Now, is that a bad thing? Uh, the evidence is not 100% certain, but with all the dementia that's around, I want to keep my brain fat and keep my DHA EPA levels up. I have no interest in consuming fish, and I know a lot of people who have been plant-based and then eat fish because they feel like they need these things. I'd rather get it from algae, so I supplement with that. And I've also discovered, unfortunately, with my high cholesterol, that I do need to take these concentrated polyphenols. This concentrated amla helps bring it down, not all the way, but it has brought it down. And I know because I was taking it for a while. It brought my LDL down, and then I stopped because it was so expensive, and it just went right back up. So now I'm
Mm.
doing all kinds of other things. I'm not ready to share yet what those things are. I'll do a whole podcast on it sometime later. But I've I'm I've got all these extra herbs now that I'm taking, and it's fascinating. I consider myself a guinea pig, testing on myself and doing what I think will work for me. But I'm not big into supplements per se, but I think some of them can be healthy because we don't live in an ideal world. Our soils are depleted. We're not getting what nature originally intended. And I also have to add that 20 years ago, when I had advanced ovarian cancer and I was taking chemotherapy, which is totally unnatural, I balanced that with lots of supplements to kind of keep me alive while the chemo was killing the cancer and me. Anyway,
Mm.
that all worked out. So sometimes supplements can help, but I think we definitely overdo it.
Well, everyone's different, and
And everyone's different.
yeah, if we're starting from a vegetable or a vegetation foundation, fine. I think that's the key to start from there, and then if you need more supplements from that point, then that's fine. You do what you have to do. Luckily, I've always been in pretty decent health,
Hmm.
and blood work has always come back pretty well. So I guess I'm lucky in that regard also.
That we are all unique.
We are all
We are
unique.
all unique.
Yeah. And as I tell my clients, we all have like a genetic weakness. So if you and I were both to start eating French fries and hot dogs, you might develop cancer. I might develop type 2 diabetes. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
we fall apart differently.
yeah, we fall apart differently. So, but but we need that solid foundation. We're animals. We're very similar. We might be different. We might be different ages, different races, different whatever. But we're still an animal that needs certain types of things, and there are certain types of things that we don't need, and we have to figure out what that is.
Yeah.
And
Do you
most
have
of
any
most it's vegetation for the most part.
do you have any favorite exercises?
Favorite exercises. I think squats are probably the best exercise for
They
you.
are trending.
Yeah, squats
Squats
and
are trending.
doing a lot of abdominal crunches. It's all about the core. I tell everyone, it's a gut and butt world. When your gut is strong and your butt is strong, everything else seems to fall into place.
Mm.
So focus on those two areas and focus on your heart also. Any type of cardiovascular exercise is great. But I do all types of things in the gym. Um, you know, Focusing mainly on the gut because I don't want that protruding gut. Um, Visceral
Uh-huh.
fat is not the type of fat that I want at all, and I will
No.
do anything in order to keep the belly flat. And I think by doing that, that just you know makes everything better, makes everything easier.
Mm.
I've known many people, as I'm sure you have, with digestive problems, and it's just not pretty. And one of my dear aunts just passed away. She had myriad problems. I think mainly diverticulitis, and very painful for many, many years. And, I did everything I could to get her to eat more vegetation. I
Yeah,
did
but some
everything.
people just won't listen, or they can't for one reason or another.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we just have to keep moving on and doing what we believe is the right thing to do, but always keeping in mind that there's still more to learn.
Okay, I just have one more question before I let you go. So you do commercials.
Yes,
Do you do you do any pharmaceutical commercials where you promote any drugs that you wouldn't take?
I do. I've done many pharmaceutical commercials, and I think in drugs are good for certain people.
Yeah.
There are certain times where you do need those drugs, so I don't have any problems doing that. But I've done many pharmaceutical commercials in the past.
Yeah. And is there one that we can see you in?
Oh, wow. One that's playing right now, I don't know. A lot of times when those commercials run, they run for a year or two. But I
Mm.
did one for a drug called Austedo about 4 or 5 years ago. The last one I've done, I can't remember. Like I just did something for the New York City Marathon, and I just did
Ooh,
another one where I'm running, and now I have another one where I'm doing something athletic. So it's normally not all about drugs. It's about pharmaceuticals, a lot of financial commercials. Um, One I did for Comlock. I did one for Mass Mutual that might be playing. I don't know how long they play. I'm not
right.
in the U.S. market, so I don't see them all the time.
Well, you look like someone we can trust.
Well, I hope so. I'm just out there doing my thing and having a good time, and trying to promote that healthy lifestyle. Like
Yeah,
there's some
right.
commercials I won't do. I won't do anything where I have to eat any meat products or drink milk or anything like that. So I have to specify that. But
Very good. Well, Kirk Charles, thank you so much for joining me today and it's all about food. I'm so glad I got to meet you and I hope to see you at another PPMNY Plant Powered Metro New York party sometime or somewhere else where we get to eat delicious vegetation.
I have no doubt we will meet again at one of those meetings. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. Kirk Charles from Fit Beyond 40. Everybody, have a delicious week. Bye bye.
Bye bye.